Most of all, I'm sorry to Mags and Pawpaw. I would never intentionally do anything to hurt either one of them.
The nation watched a blubbering Alex Murdaugh on the witness stand during his double murder trial. The jury did not believe what he was saying and convicted him of shooting and killing his wife Maggie and his son Paul. But then the convictions were overturned, back to square one, and Alex Murdaugh is getting a brand new trial. But this time it looks like the defense has a new strategy, trying to identify an actual alternative suspect.
They did find a unknown male DNA who's not related to any Murdaugh or any of Maggie's family under her fingernail.
So is this DNA the key to an acquittal? It was part of the first trial.
Were Paul and Alex Murdaugh excluded as contributors?
Yes.
But second time around, it looks like the defense is going to use this DNA as a potential centerpiece of their case. Is there reasonable doubt under Maggie's fingernails? They lost the first trial, but with a new trial comes some new strategy, but not necessarily new evidence, but some new technology for that old evidence. We're talking about what is underneath the fingernails of Maggie Murdaugh. Does it equal reasonable doubt? I'm Vinnie Politan. Let's investigate. Welcome back to the low country of South Carolina. I still can't believe, I got to pinch myself that we're talking about this again, but it's for real. Like, the convictions were overturned. So now we're going to talk about the new trial. Well, during that first trial, Alex Murdaugh told his story, right? It was the biggest part of the case. Murdaugh on the stand. Yeah, he was blubbering, the stuff coming out of his nose, crying, apologizing, doing everything he possibly can to try to convince those jurors from his home county that he was not guilty of that double murder, but it didn't work. It did not work. They didn't believe him. The guy spent his career defrauding clients and his own business partners. All right, think about that. And all that came out. So his testimony that did not work was basically, ladies and gentlemen, yes, believe me when I tell you I'm sorry for lying to everyone and stealing their money. But believe me now, yeah, I lied to my clients. I stole their money. I lied to my business partners and I stole their money. But I'm being truthful to you. And you can tell because I'm crying. Well, it's time for some new strategy at a new trial. You have to. You're not going to go in there and do the same exact thing, right? Prosecutors will, as much as they can. They may be limited in some of the evidence they can put out there. But for prosecutors, the game doesn't change. For prosecutors, if you're doing your job ethically, is to present all the evidence, present the truth, and convince the jury that your evidence proves what you believe to be the truth about what happened. Okay? Defense, different job. It's to represent the defendant and try anything and everything within the legal world, right? And the ethical legal world to raise a doubt, wherever that may come from. So in this case, it seems like there's going to be a lot of focus on Maggie Murdaugh and the DNA under her fingernails. It does exist. We knew at the first trial that it existed. They're not making up this evidence. This evidence was always there. It just was not a big part of the first trial. It wasn't. Like, Alex Murdaugh's testimony was the first trial, really. That was the defense. Yeah, they tried to get into some experts, et cetera, but they got destroyed by the prosecution expert in figuring out what that crime scene told us and what that crime scene proved, right? But now it's about the DNA underneath Maggie's fingernails, which has not been identified. And the question is, who is it? Who is it that deposited their DNA underneath Maggie's fingernails, and what were the circumstances surrounding it? That's what the defense wants this second trial to be all about. It seems, as we listen to the defense team, and they've been talking about this, like right out of the box. After Alex Murdaugh's convictions were overturned, Jim Griffin and Dick Harpootlian, the attorneys, had a press conference, and Jim Griffin talked about and responded to questions about the DNA that has been unidentified underneath the fingernails of Maggie Murdaugh. Let's take a listen.
This changes everything. The defense claims an unknown male's DNA was found under Maggie Murdaugh's fingernail, and now they want it searched through the National DNA Database. Could this be the evidence that creates reasonable doubt, or is it simply another desperate defense strategy?
Did find unknown male DNA who's not related to any Murdaugh or any of Maggie's family under her fingernail. That was, not really followed up on. We asked that they follow up on that before the last trial. We don't have possession of that DNA, so we can't do anything with it. We can perhaps, with a new case, back to square one, go and seek an order from the court to compel them to send it off to CODIS. CODIS is the national DNA database. If we were in charge and we had the facilities, the forensic lab, they had the SLED, and we had search warrant abilities, we would have done things a lot differently and more timely. A lot of that opportunity is lost, and so that's unfortunate.
More optimism getting that sense for this, you believe, this go around?
Well, it'll be. Chief Justice Kittredge issued an order last week saying he's going to appoint a new judge once the remitter goes down. And that'll be one of the things that we will present to a new judge asking for that relief. Whether he or she will do it remains to be seen.
Okay. Like Jim Griffin said, and I remember this moment, I was down there in the Low Country covering this trial, that there was a DNA analyst on the witness stand talking about Maggie Murdaugh's fingernails. And they had an opportunity to cross-examine on it. So this is not new evidence we're talking about. This is evidence from the first trial. Take a listen.
We've gone through a pretty long list of things that you did analysis on. Did you do any analysis on any clothing or anything from the victims' bodies other than Maggie Murdaugh's fingernail clippings?
I analyzed Margaret Murdaugh's fingernail clippings, Paul Murdaugh's fingernail clippings, as well as their buccal swabs.
And when you say they're buccal swabs, that was simply to collect their DNA to perform analysis. Is that correct?
That was the known standard that I used to make comparisons, yes.
And under Maggie Murdaugh's left fingernail clippings, you found unidentified male DNA?
Foreign to Margaret Murdaugh, there were some alleles present, yes.
Well, we say some alleles present. Was there DNA from an unrelated male under her fingernails?
For item 70, yes, one of the alleles indicates a male contributor.
And this was an unrelated male?
Do you mean unrelated as in unrelated?
Well, let me strike that and rephrase. Were Paul and Alex Murdaugh excluded as contributors?
Yes.
So male DNA under her fingernails, not from Paul, not from Alex Murdaugh.
The foreign DNA to her, yes, they were excluded as contributors.
Okay.
One unanswered question could reshape the entire case. Whose DNA was under Maggie Murdaugh's fingernail? If investigators identify the source, it could either strengthen the prosecution or completely transform the defense's argument at the new trial.